So you might have noticed recently that Disney are remaking a lot of their films. It started out as something they were just bringing them out here and there, but now they're bringing out a few a year. Now it seems like a lot of people don't like these remakes, but to be fair, these remakes are actually quite good and tell a really good story and captivate the original really well. But sometimes, well, they are bad. Yes, I'm looking at you, 102 Dalmatians. But why are Disney remaking their own movies? Is there something wrong with their old ones? Well, no, there really isn't. I mean, some of their older movies don't hold up better than others, but that's what I'm going to look at today. Why do Disney keep remaking their old movies? And when should a movie be remade? Now, I see a remake as something that is popular and old, and they want to remake it for a new generation. So, an old Disney movie might not stand the test of time today, and it might look a bit different, like Cinderella, so they decide to remake it with better effects and in live action. And you could say this is also the case with the 2016 Jungle Book remake. Now, the original Jungle Book was made back in 1967. Now, there was actually a remake of the Jungle Book back in 1994, but I'm not going to look at that one. Now, the 2016 version of the Jungle Book was very good, and they did a really well and actually pleased a lot of the public audience and critics. And I think the reason this movie did so well is because it slightly changed the plot around into making it a better story for this day and age. And they filmed most of the movie on green screen and CGI, and which is really cool, and it looked really good, personally. And this is what I'd call a good, necessary remake. Now, of course, a remake doesn't need to happen, and most times it doesn't, but I still think they did a really good job, and they might have accidentally started a line of remakes. Now, there are also a lot of other remakes that have been made, and from older Disney movies, and they've just remade them and changed them, like Alice in Wonderland, which also did change the plot and story around to making it something new and, well, different, and, well, it was definitely something. There was also Dumbo and Maleficent, and those movies did try and take a different approach to try and not just make the movie a shot-for-shot remake, so the audience isn't thinking, hang on, I think I've seen that somewhere before. And they definitely did try and make the effort to try and make it different, and sometimes, unfortunately, it doesn't pay off. But still, they based it off the same thing, but just changed it up, which is really good. And because these films were made a while ago, they also do have to change things for the remake. But now let's look at the Disney Renaissance. Now, if you don't know what it is, it's basically 10 movies that were made by Disney from 1989 to 1999, and they're some of the best movies that have come out of Disney. You got movies like The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, and that's just to name a few. Now, you know these movies and how popular they are and beloved, and some of these movies are probably the best that have come out of Disney. And when you got these movies, a lot of people think of their childhood when they see them and how good they were. Now, Disney owned these iconic characters, so they just thought, okay guys, we're running out of good ideas for our movies. So one person said, well, maybe we should make a heap of sequels to those better movies. And then the other person thought, yeah, we should make a lot of remakes. And then the last person thought, or we could just make good original content. And to be honest, I think that's how the meeting would have went. Disney have all these great movies, so they just have to remake them, and a lot of the Disney Renaissance, which was made in the 90s, well, it wasn't too long ago, not like in the 50s or the 60s when a lot of the other movies came out that they are remaking, like Beauty and the Beast in 2017. Now, they did a pretty good job at the box office and with the overall audience, and they didn't change a heap. I mean, they added a song and a few new scenes, but it's basically the same storyline, but in live action. And there's nothing wrong with that. It came out of the Disney Renaissance in the 90s, and it's a popular film that so many people like. And in 2019, they brought out The Lion King and Aladdin, which are both from the Disney Renaissance. And with Aladdin, they did the same kind of thing as the Beauty and the Beast. They added a new song, added a few new scenes, and changed a few of the characters around just to give them a better personality. So basically, they actually changed a good number of things in this movie just to keep things fresh. But then came the Lion King remake, And I don't think they even really changed much in this movie. You could put two versions of The Lion King next to each other and you really even wouldn't notice a difference. It's basically a shot for shot remake. And they even brought back James Earl Jones to play Mufasa. I think they were even just a little scared to change things in this movie because for some reason people think that The Lion King is one of the best Disney movies, and because so many people like it, they just don't want to muck it up. And because if they keep it the same, at least, people will still like it and it will still be like the original. But I still enjoyed watching the remake of The Lion King. I don't even really have as a big connection to the original Lion King, but I still thought it was a really good movie. And another thing that the remakes tend to do is fix mistakes from the original that don't make sense, or change things that probably wouldn't work today. And this is kind of good just to make the whole story line up better, and that's a good thing that the remakes do. And even now, Disney have a bunch of remakes lined up, like Mulan is coming out soon, The Little Mermaid is still in production, and they're probably going to even be still making the rest of the Disney Renaissance soon. So, why then? Why are Disney remaking their old movies? What is the point? Now, I think one of the reasons is nostalgia. Now, Disney have all of these characters and songs and movies that everyone loves, and I think what they want to do is people to feel nostalgic, like when they did when they were kids watching these movies, and I think it's also for the younger generation to enjoy. But even now, with all the hate towards the remakes, there is nothing wrong with them. Nothing. They are good films that captivate the original really well, as I said at the start. Because if you show someone who has never seen The Lion King, the remake, and then show them the original, they're going to say that the remake was better. Because if you don't have a childhood connection with this movie, they're going to say that the one that looks newer and better is the better one. But I think it's good that Disney are remaking their old movies, so now kids who grew up with the remakes are going to have a stronger connection to those, not the ones that their parents grew up with. And it seems like they're remaking movies much sooner than they used to, and it's becoming more common, especially for Disney. And I wouldn't even be surprised if Disney started remaking some of the movies from studios that they've bought, like Lucasfilm, or Marvel, or even 20th Century Fox. I could definitely see them remaking sequels and other movies, not just the animated movies. Now, I'm not going to agree or disagree that Disney are making these movies to try and make money, but you can't blame them for that. They have these characters that they have created and they want to make them with live action actors or realistic animals with voices of famous, well known people. And this isn't the first time that Disney have really tried to milk their characters and stories. Because in the early 2000s and even a bit before that, Disney were making a lot of straight-to-DVD films, and those films, well, they weren't very good, but a lot of the characters that everyone loved were in them, and that was a way for them to make movies with those characters. And believe it or not, there is actually a new remake of an Aladdin sequel coming out in a few years. It's still in production, but it's actually happening. But thankfully, this will not be a sequel remake to The Return of Jafar, so thank God. And now with Disney Plus, they are releasing a lot of their remakes and new series, or another take on a famous tale, onto there. And I think this will progress in the future. And to be honest, Disney are going to be remaking a lot of their latest films in the future, like Frozen, Moana, and Tangled, because those were massive hits for the studio, and I could totally see them remaking them in 20 years, and for the new generation, like what they're doing now. And Disney are massive now, and they have heaps of movies coming out every year. So I hope that they make original films and not just reimagined movies of their classic films. So hopefully we can start to see a bit of a change in Disney in the future. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe to Film Friday and give this video a big thumbs up. And I will see you next Friday.